Good morning, viewers. Welcome to Frankly Speaking with Vibhuti Jha. The world seems to be churning at a speed at which we never thought. Or is it technology that enables news to travel so fast that we are instantaneously connected with everything that happens in the world? Everything, literally, and you know it. The tectonic shift brought about by technology enables us to know about a tsunami in Japan, a nor'easter in Northeast here, or an earthquake somewhere else, including statements made by politicians. And thus, we are constantly on the churn. The universe opens up with this tiny little equipment every morning when we start seeing our WhatsApp group messages, Twitter messages, and what have you. Email comes last for me, at least. And then there are many times you are totally unsure. As the saying once upon a time was, internet pe hai to wo sach hoga. The reality is that it is on internet, it may not be true at all, because there are many vitiated information also that is peddled on social media. So we are talking about information flow that has been remarkable. And I want to begin this conversation today with two of my very good panelists and very learned people about coronavirus and the way it has impacted the world around us. It has been more than a year, to be precise, when we all went into a lockdown, quarantine, treatments, news, innuendos, half baked information, speculation, everything was going on. But I remember this very clearly that when I had my first conversation about this with a physician of Indian origin here, he was literally in the front line of battle against coronavirus. He's a bold, blunt guy, as I think most of the doctors are, because they deal with the realities of life when they treat a patient. There is no mumbo jumbo there. You have an illness, you've got to treat it. And when you've got to treat it, there is no ifs and buts. You follow what the doctor tells you. So here was a doctor telling me, and I'm a man who believes in some element of conspiracy theories. And as also the student of geopolitics, I know nothing happens for no reason. This is something which my educator, teacher of geopolitics told me, that the world moves around in span of 10, 15, 20 years. That if you want something to happen 20 years from now, you've got to begin doing things from today onwards. And he made a very remarkable statement. Politicians are not stupid. Do you think that 540 members of parliament in India are stupid? They are representing 1.3 billion people. Likewise, in the United States, 350 million people are represented by 450 people in the House and 100 senators, depending on each country's structure of political party. They are not stupid. They only act stupid at times to see how the people respond to something. So here is a doctor telling me that this is a pandemic which is not natural. I believed in it myself. With a pandemic of this nature, of this size, of this scale, doesn't happen by accident. And there is a very interesting theory that came about only recently when an investigative writer called Nicholas Wade said in his report and his article, I hope you guys have read it. If you've not read it, please do read it. It's in the Journal of Atomic Scientists. Nicholas Wade writes that in the case of SARS-1 and MERS, there are still traces of the virus in the air. In the case of this virus, SARS-2, Wuhan virus, COVID-19, call it any which way you want, it has no trace in the nature. So there are many theories that are going along, and we know now that President Biden has ordered an intelligence report on that to be submitted in 90 days to confirm or deny whether the lab was responsible for the leak of the virus. So today we know there are 3.2 million people are dead worldwide. We know that the United States has 591,000 mortality. We also know that India has right about 300,000 plus deaths on its count. I think the world leadership owes it to the people, all those who have perished in this virus, and their families. Who did it and why? This is a question that needs to be answered. To discuss this, plus a couple of other things that are happening around us, I have great pleasure in welcoming two of very learned people, Dr. Raj Bhayani. He's a president of Federation of Indian Physicians Association. He's done a lot of work in this area. He's on the front line. He's ENT specialist as well as cosmetic surgery specialist. Am I right about that, Raj? And the second gentleman is Sharad Mohan. Mr. Sharad Mohanji is a resident of Nashville, Tennessee, author, entrepreneur, and a man of technology domain. So both of you, welcome to the show. And I started to have Raj, since you are the physician, you have seen the battle in the front lines in the United States. I have just one comment to make, and that is, in India, the second wave has been a killer. The deaths have been 4,000 plus a day. But this is the same data that was happening in New York and California in the US in the first wave. And the dead bodies were piling up in the hospitals and mortuaries in this country. What is your take on this? As of now, what you know now, what do you think is happening?
Hello, everybody, viewers of ITV Gold and this wonderful show with Vibhuti and Sharadji. It's an honor to join you here. The coronavirus second wave in India is definitely has made us all worried and very, very anxious about what was going on just about a few weeks back.
Right.
Thankfully, the things are getting better and the number of cases have gone down. It is going more in rural areas. So we need to get ready for rural area patient toll, and all the resources needs to be directed in that direction. Having said that, this second wave was kind of unexpected, and this mutation which happened, which has a very special number about it, and you all can look it up, and by the way, obviously some of the leftist media enjoys calling it Indian variant. An Indian government actually has launched official complaint to call it Indian variant, because if President Biden says that you cannot call Wuhan virus or Chinese virus, so why are they calling it Indian variant? It should not be. So that is a critical point, and we need to make sure that people stop using the word Indian variant. So this mutation is very, very virulent, and as we are becoming smarter to deal with the virus has outsmarted us by this mutation. This is easily transferable, and once it gets in the body, it attacks the host very rapidly and mercilessly, to the point that even very many young generation who were supposed to be thought having good immunity have become victim to this virus. So this is a combination of factors. Obviously, we thought we dealt with first wave very well, so we became a little overconfident, and this virus virulence was a very, very big factor. There's so many people got infected. We also have a poor investment in medical field since independence. We've spent 2% of our GDP in healthcare, while America spends 20% of GDP in healthcare. So you can imagine how much disparity is in our healthcare infrastructure delivery. So there was a major drawback or failure about the healthcare delivery system, where there was a shortage of oxygen reaching the hospitals. Even though Modi government had warned all the states in January and given the funds to create increase oxygen supply, most of the states obviously neglected it and did not use the funds to build the oxygen plants to the hospitals. And with that, there was a major shortage of oxygen, and we have many losses of lives. But the responsibility is people are trying to blame this government, and I think it's wrongly placed blame because it's a collective responsibility. India is very much controlled by states, and federal government has no much jurisdiction how the state healthcare gets mandated. And when the states fail, they try to blame the central government, and that is very unfortunate, unacceptable. And you will see in New York Times, CNN, they keep saying that Modi brand is tarnished because they just want to show that this is a failure of this central government, which is not the case, which is a collective responsibility. And this is not the time for the blame game. This is the time to work together and make sure every next patient is saved with whatever resources we have. And if we all put our brilliant minds together and work as a team and listen to the authorities, we can take care of this corona very easily. But if you see, if Modi government gives some recommendation, the the Kejriwal government was doing exactly opposite. The oxygen cylinders were being stolen or hoarded. People were arrested for that. On one hand, there is a shortage of oxygen in Delhi. Kejriwal is complaining there are no oxygen cylinders available. On the other hand, his party people are stealing the oxygen cylinders, which are in the trucks, and hoarding somewhere else, and then come back and blame that there is no oxygen. So this kind of dirty politics should not have been played. Same thing happened in Maharashtra, Punjab, all the non-BJP states try to blame Modi ji, and that was very unfortunate part. Another problem, as you saw, irresponsible media, which we saw those images of burning
Raj,
corpses on the fields.
we will get to the irresponsible media later because we know all what is happening there. But you have very succinctly brought about the medical element of the pressure and the stress on the infrastructure of healthcare in India, and you have brought about the political manipulation and attack that has happened. We know it is a part of the toolkit. That also brings about one thing we know, that when the pandemic hit, there was no medication available. If you were hit by that, then you had to go into quarantine and endure the, wait for the virus to die down automatically. Thus, there was a lot of panic. But this is very curious for me. And as a student of media and everything else, you begin to wonder. And this is where I will seek Sharadji to give his comments on this, is that geopolitical element. This is what I read. I'm reading that there were two countries in the world's strongest economy and world's economy like India that was growing economy. And India was becoming a hub for the manufacturing world. And that's what Modi's campaign was. Trump and India with Mr. Modi, these were the only two people who took on China head on, whether it was on the economic part of it, retaliation by banning apps in India, or taking the Galwan battle in China. They were taught a lesson. And likewise, Mr. Trump was also trying to play the open game, the tariff war, and give him credit for one thing. He did say that he did pay compliment to President Xi and China's for negotiating a better deal because we were stupid about that. Remember that statement of his? He always said, I don't blame the Chinese for getting a better deal, but because they were smarter and our people were not smart enough to get a good deal. So Sharadji thought process, two economies, two political entities hit hard by an artificial virus, which was tested in human mice. I was surprised to hear that story that there is a concept of human mice. I didn't know. So I'll confess that. So this virus was tested to prevent future pandemics like SARS-1 and MERS. And lo and behold, you realize that, oh my God, I have a weapon. we also know that this virus has not jumped from bats to humans. And today's media, then when I was seeing you brought that subject matter very, very adroitly, Raj, about the role of media, you see this, the entire cabal of the left media was constantly berating Trump or anybody who spoke about the fact that there was something fishy going on in this. Sharadji, your thoughts?
Thank you, Vibhutiji. First of all, very quickly, I would like to pay my very sincere respect to all the healthcare workers across the world, and Dr. Bhayani ji, one of our panelists, is part of that. They have done a fabulous job, risking their lives and helping the humanity. So it's a great job for all the healthcare workers. Now, very quickly, this virus was again, it's things have not been yet concluded, but this is definitely not a natural virus. And for India perspective, India very well saw the first wave when the country like America, with such a high GDP investment on the healthcare, or Italy, a few European countries, Brazil, they suffered in the first coronavirus wave. And India really saw that wave very well. It was when the manipulation was done and the mutant was formed, which is called B1.7, which they are calling as the Indian mutant, or the Modi variant. They are calling it in India, left cabal and all the anti-India forces. That's where all this problem happened. So we'll come to that later once this 90 days period of Joe Biden finds out something. But coming to the media, now media has ganged up against India in a way. And I did some few research and reading, and Vibhuti, I'll quickly go through that about why media has ganged up against India. It's the economy which was really doing well.
Right.
So two things. First was Modi's. It was boon in disguise initially when Modi said that India is a vaccination hub, which means 60% of the world vaccine is made in India. It didn't go well with the white superiority people in the European countries. And you see Angela Merkel even giving a statement from out of blue saying that, no, we allowed India to become. It's not a small statement. It's not like, she had a gas problem that day and she said something. It's very well thought thing. And the second thing is the Atmanirbhar. This really created a panic in all the Western countries and even America, and we are part of that system, where the entire weapon sales with your Tejas, with your everything, was going to be affected in a span of 5 to 10 years. And there was a huge money involved, billions and billions of dollars. So these two things panic. And then third is when Modi government came, it started stopping a lot of NGOs and which were directly getting benefited during Manmohan Singh ji. And one of the finding which I have and which I want to cover is Mr. Amartya Sen, our Nobel laureate, the great Indian who screwed the Nalanda University, and Vibhuti ji would be knowing that. Amartya Sen's second wife is from a very big family, Rothschild. She is from a Roth group, and Roth group along with a very big hedge fund company in New York is called Blackstone. Blackstone is a hedge fund company. They together fund writers, Thomson Reuters, or whatever you call it.
Right.
And this money then goes to the Washington Post, the New York Times, the Times Magazine. So the whole cabal. So their business was affected because when Manmohan Singh was there, Amartya Sen had even a chair in Cambridge funded for the undergrad. So all those things was challenged, and they ganged up. We keep on blaming only George Soros, but here are the bigger players, our own Amartya Sen and the whole Roth group, the Blackstone, even the Rockefeller, which basically is in oil business, has 28% partnership with the Roth group, and the oil business, which Modi has really affected because he's moving to alternate energy, and within 3 or 4 years, that 28% of the oil money will go to the alternate energy, and so this was definitely getting into their nerves from the business perspective, and they all ganged up. The big tech comes very down the hierarchy from that perspective. Your real people are here, and that is where you see non-stop barrage of anti-India posts, whether it's a Times magazine, or this will not stop. Even in India, they have got all the Indian media, whether NDTV is a very small thing. They have got any print media you think about right now. They're all being funded, and they will be continuously attacking this government. 2022, they want Yogi to go, and 2024, they want Modi to go. And this pandemic of this huge proportion, which even America couldn't handle in the first wave, India was definitely going to fall short on this. Definitely, even if it comes after 5 years, we will not be able to have so many doctors and infrastructure for 1.4 billion people. So
it is such a serious stress on the infrastructure caused bottlenecks. It happened in America too. In the first phase, despite the infrastructure, medical health infrastructure being so powerful in America, right? So it's America suffered in the first wave, India suffered in the second wave. And I find it's very eerie. And the point which I'm trying to tell Raj is that what do you think about the pharmaceutical industry? You belong to that world. There are many doctors who openly tell me that you have no idea the stranglehold that pharmaceutical industry has on the global political element. And India, and it's a very interesting thing, you see all the godmen, all the miracle workers of appointed by various gods or religious heads who used to bring about miracles. You do this and God will help you. God will do this. They are all sitting idle. They have probably returned to Hogwarts School of Magic to learn some new tricks when they come back and things will return to normal. So this brings me to another element which is very important, which happened in India only a few days ago. And that is what we discussed and talked about as the vaccine imperialism. There has been a very serious issue on that vaccine thing, which I was very disturbed that when the 100 countries requested America and Europe to, there was a word used for that, to delink the patent thing and make the drugs available to everybody. Nobody agreed in the first instance. Biden agreed, to his credit. He said, okay, let's make it open. But it was European cartel led by Merkel, who said it will create distribution channels problems in the future. And she was, as Sharadji very rightly pointed out, she made that statement. We allowed India to become the vaccination hub or the thing. What do you think about this kind of a scenario that America is right now in the grip of wellness industry? It's a huge industry. Wellness is nothing else but Ayurveda, organic, which are part of Indian origin, right? What do you think about is happening on behalf of the pharmaceutical industry? That there are very sensational data out there that majority of the vaccines have been given to the rich countries. The poor, 42% has gone to the rich countries, 1.1 to Africa, 3.7 to Asia. These are some of the things which people have begun to realize, that this is vaccine imperialism, that they've cut down the supply of raw material to India. They cut down supply of vaccines to India, AstraZeneca and whatever. Your thoughts, Raj? You are muted. Unmute yourself.
So you are trying to address two issues. One is obviously the vaccine issue and supply chain. And second issue is the Ayurveda and wellness use in Corona crisis. So yes, yes, definitely the vaccine issue has become a forefront, and when it's a world issue, obviously the pharma companies spend billions in research and developing new medication. If they don't protect that intellectual rights and patents, then obviously the in future, there is no incentive for the pharma companies to invest billions in creating a drug. So that is understood by most of the scientific and medical community. At the same time, it has to be balanced against the need during crisis. So the balance is, all right, the whole world needs a vaccine. It's going to take years to vaccinate everybody in the world. There are countries where not a single person has got a vaccine. And when India is trying to make a vaccine and it needs whatever certain raw materials, which is produced in US is not giving it to India. So this is very unfortunate. And the only way we all will come out as winner through this crisis is if we all are together in fighting this and lose our protectionism and regionalism and work together as a team, as a one world, as a one globe. And every leader of every country has to come together and say, look, we're not stopping until the last person on the earth is vaccinated. That's the only way you can control this pandemic. The remdesivir, the hydroxychloroquine, prednisone, and this is not going to stop it. It is not stopping the spread. And once you get the virus, these medications are questionably effective. Otherwise, there would not be so many deaths around. So prevention is the only mantra which will control this pandemic. And prevention can be done by only vaccination. And there is a vaccine. Some of them are better than others. Pfizer and Moderna vaccines have shown 96% efficacy. That means every person on earth has moral, ethical right to have access to it. Anybody who's stopping that access is evil and should be banished and should be protested and brought to the world tribunal or court, saying that this is a crime against humanity when you stop this vaccine access to the other common people. So this is as far as the vaccination is concerned. Now, as far as the wellness program is concerned, it's again obvious when there is no one treatment working out, obviously people are going to look for the alternatives. And when people are looking for alternatives, people are going to try everything. They're going to try the steam, they will bathe in the steam, they will bathe in the hot water, they will put this hot water in the nose, and they will take this kadha, and they will take that lawang and ajwan and whatnot. And they will also try remdesivir. They're trying hydroxychloroquine. They've been trying prednisone, and they've been trying those antibody cocktails, and they've been trying those plasma therapy. Nothing is 100% effective. When that happens, everybody's panicking. And when everybody's panicking, they're going to listen to all the nonsense which goes around in the world and WhatsApp universities and all these social media. Anybody becomes an expert and say, please eat onions with the salt that prevents coronavirus. Or please have this cow dung around your body and it will stop coronavirus. It's not going to stop. Use some common sense. It's not going to happen. Only way to stop this corona pandemic is wear the mask, social distancing, and vaccination. Even this hand washing is very, very important. But everybody knows now this is an airborne virus. It's not sitting on your table or the grocery containers. It's not sitting on it. So it is airborne virus. You got to wear the mask. Avoid. Use your common sense. Even if there is a rally or a Kumbh Mela or the Eid festival, don't go. It's you are in control of not going. You have a choice not to go with the crowded places. There is now pharma rally happening today. You have a choice not to go. Why would you go and then blame government that government allowed the rally? So personal responsibility is very, very important in prevention, and world responsibility is making sure everybody gets vaccination. Now, if you want to comment about this Ayurveda thing, and then
We'll get
Baba
to that
Ramdev.
later. We'll get to
We'll
that
get into
later.
that later. I got
Yeah,
that because you didn't
yeah, we'll
mention
get
that.
to that
So we're
later. But
getting there.
Sharadji, there is an important thing which Rajji brought about, the vaccination part of it. So while you have to maintain the distances and the preventive part of it yourself, what is equally important is vaccination. I read the number that was scary. That at the current rate, just about 1.8 or 2 billion people have been vaccinated. Not that much either. 8 billion people populate the earth. And to populate everybody, to vaccinate everybody, you need to do some 80 million vaccinations per day to reach, and that will take 19 months. In between, the virus is going to turn around and mutate or do whatever else it does. But Raji mentioned about what you call, the farmer agitation in India, particularly, and that's what we need to talk about because India, there are a spate of articles blaming Modi, blaming everything on Indians, that we are the third-rate people, we have no social discipline. But 12 political leaders signed on farmer agitation, knowing full well that farmers have already begun to receive their money directly in their accounts. So when they are talking about an agitation, that only you remove you remove the bill, then only there is a conversation. That shows a very evil agenda. They are being used by farmers of only 2 states. And it is getting worse. They don't care for who dies and who survives. That's the basic problem in India. How do people of India and what does the government do in these scenarios? Because the foreign press is already waiting. You arrest them, you are damned. You don't arrest them, you are damned.
Right.
And
So,
I remember when India was exporting vaccines, everybody was talking about India is exporting vaccine, great, great, great. The moment India took the decision not to export, the Times of India headline was that India's stopping of export of vaccines will make many poor countries suffer much more. So you do, you are damned. Don't do, you are damned.
yeah.
Your thoughts on this?
So that's totally correct, and it's all driven from the first part, which I mentioned, is like they all want to tarnish this Modi government because he's right now he has stepped on lot of toes, not only up with through his all his policies and all. So it's definitely affecting the financial aspect of many big giants across the globe. Now, what government should have done with the farmer agitation? I think again, government sympathizers will have their own view, but this government has been very image conscious with the Western media. And in spite of that being so much image conscious, they're still getting the beating. So there has to be a change where from Shaheen Bagh, that was also during COVID phase 1, to farmers agitation, and then this Haridwar Kumbh or the Eid or anything, right? The government has to have a pandemic emergency where there is certain do's and don'ts for every citizen, and they should strictly follow by the rule of the law. Because it's a faith-based country, it is just not possible for Western people. It is very easy to say that control 5 crore people from Kumbh. Which police and military will go and will be able to stop? It's just not possible. People, it's a faith-based country. It's not only, I'm saying, Hindus, even within the Muslim community. So there has to be a little give and take. Maybe the community leaders should have been roped in by the government. The religious leaders should have been roped by the government, and they should have done all this selling to their people. But with the farmers agitation, it's beyond my understanding why government is sticking with all this nonsense for at least some time, in spite of Supreme Court giving the judgment. I was in India on from 17th of February to March 8th. That's when the second phase. I was not hearing second phase because I was surprised to see that nobody was wearing mask in the public place, right? And when I was wearing mask, people were mocking, hey, we have better immune system, why are you doing this, why are you doing that? I know, but I saw what's going to come, because life was becoming very normal. And it's that mistake which government should have enforced a little bit. Probably the district magistrates, the DM at the lowest level, from prime minister to chief minister to district magistrate, the actual implementer, they really goofed up. And very quickly, what I would like to say is, a problem of pandemic size, where entire world is suffering for a year. One tactical mistake was uh, passing that responsibility to the state for the second phase. The state were not prepared for it. In spite of all the politics, government thought they will increase the risk burden, whereas all the blame should not come to the central government, so that it was passed to the state. In India, you just, states are not a leader. Even if one or two states will do good, this type of things has to be driven from center. I think that was one strategic mistake. It was thought to be a master stroke by involving. So if Delhi fails, Delhi CM will be blamed. But eventually, it didn't turn out like that. It
You
all
think that
came to Modi.
it was a tactical error by the central government, but isn't the healthcare state subject?
It is a state subject, but when a law, so even a law and order, policing is a state subject. But when the Naxal problem comes, you give a paramilitary forces, CRPF,
Yes,
when the
yes.
flood comes. So
Again, there are scenarios which are different, right? You create special forces to deal with special situations. There's a law and order. There's a terrorist activity. So you have different institutions. But what is interesting for me, Raj, and since we live in New York, we are this here. I find a remarkable, eerie similarity between Trump's plight and Modi's plight. Trump's plight in the first wave was New York, California, Washington, New Jersey, Oregon, Portland, Oregon state. All five were principally responsible for the largest number of cases, and New York and California governors, including all these five governors, are on record praising Trump for giving everything that was possible, including the Navy ship, Navy hospital, right? We know that. We know that what happened, Cuomo got Emmy Award for whatever he did. But it was really very eerie similarity between these five states here and the opposition ruled states in India. Look at Maharashtra, look at Delhi, look at Rajasthan, look at Kerala. Everywhere, these are opposition ruled states, and they are the ones, Bombay and Delhi particularly, are the global face of India, right? Political capital and financial capital. Do you think it was carelessness or just, and now Kejriwal is saying center should take it all. At that time, he wanted it. He gives one doctor 1 crore for family, 1 crore, but many other doctors he doesn't treat, doesn't give the same kind of support. So how low and how dirty is the politics in India? It looks like the 12 opposition people leaders have only one goal. Come hell or high water, do whatever it takes, remove Modi. That's all the game plan. And this time, coronavirus is the tool that has come to their hands. Your thoughts?
Definitely. See, here also, on one hand, all these opposition states kind of praise Trump. At the same time, they also blame Trump for the deaths which happen in the states.
Right.
So they played this double game. When some help came in, they kind of give some little service, thank you. But at the end, they kept on blaming that when Trump said lockdown New York, Cuomo said he will not lock down New York. And when Trump was saying open the economy and don't lock down New York, Cuomo says, okay, no, we got to lock down. So this is how the politics keeps playing here also. And New York's economy suffered significantly.
Yes.
At the same time, as we have farmers protests, they have Black Lives Matter and all these kind of protests going on in here. That time there was lockdown was not essential in these states. And the spread from that was never studied. But if you go on the beach in Florida, immediately that becomes a news. But
Right.
when Black Lives Matter people do these rallies in burning Manhattan, people will not make an issue that it can spread corona. So these media bias and their attack on President here, which unfortunately worked, where they were succeeded in making sure Trump does not get reelected. And in the same line, the opposition thinks this pharma protest is their moment, or this their weapon to bring Modi down. And that's why they making sure, even the Supreme Court says, even the farmers are getting the money in their accounts, they want to make sure it stays alive until the next parliamentary election, no matter what.
No matter what.
They will continue, no matter what government does.
Right.
They will keep. If you saw that Delhi, that when the Kashmir was passed, the Delhi was the people were sitting in
Right.
that Delhi. Huh? What are you saying, sir? Yes. So they were not leaving that area at all until
Shaheen
Bagh.
Bagh.
Shaheen Bagh
Shaheen
was
Bagh.
the area.
Shaheen Bagh, correct. Shaheen Bagh. So Shaheen Bagh was their trailer. The pharma protest is there, some part one of the movie. And even if Modi says, okay, I'll back off now because there's economic problem, I don't want to interest, they're going to come back with something else.
Right.
So this is just the tool for them. This is not the cause. They don't care about the farmers. They don't care about the Kashmiris, what's happening there. They don't see whether it is really good for the country and the people and the citizens. That is not the issue here. Issue is create a propaganda and instigate certain element of the society. And all the opposition parties, they come on this one common platform to whatever is Modi doing,
Right.
oppose it, and bring people out on the streets and do whatever it takes to paralyze the economy, to stop the traffic, to make the life miserable. If you remember, Vivek Agnihotri had said that in one of his speeches, you create a chaos in the country. Even though country is running well, stock market is going up, economy is doing well, you create a sense of chaos and anarchy in the country. So even the common man will think, is the country right in the current leader's hand? And when the voting comes for parliament, that time they're hoping that Modi will not win. And in 2024, he will not come back. And West Bengal loss, as unfortunate as it is, has emboldened them. They think that in spite, actual statistically, BJP actually has gained from 2 seats to 86 seats,
Right.
86 seats. And percentage voters wise, all the anti-Mamta votes are consolidated with BJP, but still, at the end of the day, we lost.
You are absolutely right. The politics determines the course of action. And Sharadji, I wanted to quickly touch upon in the remaining time that we have is one particular issue that we see a constant barrage of attacks on perhaps one of the most peaceful immigrant group in America, that is us. And, as one senator once told me that we love you Indians as immigrants to this country. You are hardworking, you are professionals, you are the highest median income, you love your family, you have family values, you love your children, you take care of your children. You are least problem from a law and order perspective other than the occasional white collar crimes. And you ask for nothing. So we have a respect in this country as a community. But we are looking at a scenario in which our community is being attacked by importing items like caste or attacking our symbols or various educational reforms that are going on in the country where merit, this country was the first country I always used to give example of as a merit matters, performance matters. Nowadays, all of it is going through the window. And I'm told that the biggest sufferer of the changes that are happening in the democratic regime is going to be the Indian community? Your thought on that, Sharadi?
So I'm coming out with my fifth book, which will probably cover a lot of this topic, which is Will India and America Go for a War? War in not a real war sense, but a war is like a change of place of a top leader, and every 100 years, a superpower has to vacate the seat based on the past 500, 600 years trend. And in 2047, India will be celebrating its centenary, 100 years of his
Independence.
independence from the colonial masters. And similarly, America will be around 100 years after becoming superpower, real superpower from World War II. So around 110, 115 years kind of. So it's the very, very strange formation is happening. So now, why Indian American community? Well, it's not driven by, I would say, a political group in India, whether it's Democrat or Republican. It's more of an Islamist agenda driven, which is creating problem for you here, whether it's a CAA, farmers issue, or anything. Every state council goes and makes a motion against Indian American community, bringing caste. Well, Indian American as a community, they are peace loving, but the way this Elan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, and the pro-Palestine movement, with only 2 or 3 people, have shown that what Indians could bring if they are united in next 5 to 10 years, with their second, third generation becoming the part of the system. Who knows, tomorrow your CIA head will be a Indian American guy, or even a guy sitting in White House. So they see the potential from the strategic perspective. That is one. Second thing is the church here, right? Irrespective of the party line, we have Pat Robinson type of people who thinks that their real work, why God has sent them, is to do salvation for us. And that's where they are bringing all the tools like caste and all to break this society. They have tried with Khalistan, a very fringe element, to break. There are a lot of people from Bengal who are still aligned to the leftist agenda. The girl who faced the problem in Oxford, she was actually harassed by the professor who was a Bengali. He was
Right.
not an uh, this caste is a tool, which is again a European concept, not our Varna system. They will use this because this is the tool which will always sell, which will always divide Indians wherever they go. And this is a long-term slow planning, but this is totally religion based. And in future, any this clash of civilization type of thing, there is no America is not a civilization. So I don't agree with Samuel Huntington that the clash will be because of civilization. America is a nation. India is a civilization, then comes a nation. And so the fight will be on religion, and which we see in Israel, the way grouping of 52 Islamic countries, and within America, the support. So you will be targeted because you are around 1 billion population, and you becoming a vaccine hub, intellectual property right, you're getting into space, you're building Tejas. They see a huge potential where uh, church will not be able to go and use the fertile land of India for conversion. So all those things are interlinked. So we will face this problem.
Very, very well said. Very well said. And I add to that. That thanks to development in science and technology, the religious base, which is driven on fear and ignorance, is falling apart. The definition of miracle, as one author once said, is that when the science and technology has not defined something, you call it miracle, right? So now we know how our body is made up of, right? It is garbage in, garbage out, or beautiful thing in or beautiful thing out. So the question here is the Sanatan Dharma, Sanatan principle, which has base in nature and science, is becoming more and more popular. People are no longer going to churches. There are groups of people who are becoming ex-Muslims because they see the spiritual element that unites all people. So my question is very simple. If you find solace in Jesus, good for you. I'm not objecting to that. Don't tell me I'm wrong about my Krishna or Ganesh. That's mine. So I have questioned Muslims, Christians, that do you really believe in freedom of religion? Because your concept of freedom of religion is Jesus is the only way. That means you don't give me freedom to pray or not to pray, or pray whatever I want to pray. Likewise, I have questioned Muslims. If you believe Allah is supreme, good for you. If you find inspiration through that prayer, good for you, but don't tell me that I'm wrong about mine. So Raj, here is the question that comes about with the growth in science and technology. Religion's role is declining, and in my humble opinion, and I'm expressing it with smile, laughter, and agony. And I say that religion is the biggest organized mafia in the world. And that's what is where is at the root cause of most of the problems. So I'll give you the last comment on this matter before we wrap up the show.
Definitely. See, you kind of contradicted two sentences. One is, with science and technology, religion is becoming less important to a lot of people, and at the same time, you thinking religion is becoming mafia in the world.
No. It is already is. It's not becoming. It already is.
Yeah, it
So
is already
they are
mafia.
operating.
So if
They are exploiting the
yeah,
ignorance and
they are
fear.
already mafia,
Yeah.
and so no, what you're saying is to some extent is true, but we have to dissect it further.
Sure, do
The
that.
people who are becoming more science and technology and going away from religion are the people, unfortunately, is one of those are Hindus. And the people who are becoming more and more dogmatic about the religion are the Muslims. So what is happening is actually it's it's creating an imbalance of religion, and it has caused a tremendous conflict and frictions all over the world. Every friction or conflict which is happening right now is either Muslim against Hindu, Muslim against Christian, Muslim against Jew, or Muslim against Muslim, or Muslim against atheist, like in China or Ungar, those things, or in Russia. So common element here is Muslims. And unless that changes, it is going to be very, very difficult for all other religions to say our religion is not important. As somebody has said, I was absolutely atheist until somebody told me and came to me that you have to follow their religion. Then you wake up and say, wait a minute, what are you talking about? That means now you actually have to work twice as hard to protect your religion, which was not in your agenda in your lifetime anyway. So it has become a very, very difficult situation. And one of the things that you asked Sharadji is there is attack on Indians in here is one of the friction is India-Pakistan element is very, very prominent place here. And that's why the Hindus and Muslims in this country, and with the Kashmir issue passed, you were seeing that this Muslim lobby was working very hard, CAIR, who has $100 million funding, working day and night to get our Rokhanna and Pramila and all these Indian politicians go against Indian and Modi's, who is doing good for India. So this is a wake-up call for Indians and Hindus.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a very valid point. And Sharadji, you have the last word on.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So I totally agree with what Dr. Raj is saying. Religion is not going to be an obsolete thing. In fact, the Pew report came, which says that in 2015, and due respect to all my Muslim friends in India, they are probably different than overall Muslims. But the report says that there are currently there's 1 billion Hindus, 1.6 billion Muslims out of 55, 56 Muslim countries, and around 2 billion Christians. In 2050, Muslims will be almost double what they are today. So without religion opium, they cannot double. So they are the fastest growing religion. They're growing very fast, and this will definitely create a chaos, because when the equilibrium is shifted, it's very scientific. There will be a kinetic energy, there will be a friction, and world will be in chaos. So religion is going to play a key role in the world.
It will play a key role in bringing peace, or will be the cause of the conflict?
So if the religion, if all the, see, I'm not going to say anything negative about any
No, no,
religion,
no. We are not
but
talking about negative. My
if
question is
religion,
very simple. Will
I'm coming to.
religion remain an instrument of peace as each one claims, or is it going to become a cause of conflict? That's the
If
point.
it moves from a political religion to a spiritualism, because every religion has both the aspects, and the Abrahamic religion is more driven by a power and politics, where church and all this clergy start influencing the government in making the rules, and they have a country, Christian countries, Muslim countries, but there is no Hindu country.
That's right.
There is no official Hindu country, right? And we are taught that we are becoming Hindutva. So unless until they move to spiritualism, which Sanatan Hinduism definitely brings, religion cannot give a solution, irrespective of what faith you follow. It will always be my way, highway.
Thank you, Sharadji and Raji, for being here today. It's a very intellectual conversation, and I have a very simple proposition. I'm a very simple man, and I always say that God created this universe and He created life. We all are examples of that. And He created life-sustaining forces in the world, right? We are all different. So when we are born equal, that statement is correct. The infant is beautiful. It has no religion. But as we grow, so when we talk about political establishment of equality, there is the conflict, because there is no real equality in the world. Not every country is America. Geographically, we are different. Nature-wise, we are different. You and I are naturally tanned because we live in a geographical situation. Everything is geography related. Everything, but when we grow, then the individual differences begin to show up, because we don't look alike. We are not the same height. We are talent-wise different, skill-wise different, ability-wise different. So unless and until we change the language of our conversation, not about equality, but respecting individual differences. You are an IT guy, you write a book, you are an ENT surgeon, you are a cosmetic surgeon. I can't do what you do. You might be able to do what I do, but not as well as I do. So the question is that unless and until we begin to respect individual differences, there will not be individual peace. There will be no global peace. And thus it is important to understand that, thunder and lightning don't happen because gods are angry. We now know that woman is not responsible for determination of the gender of the child.
Yes.
And nobody's God could alter the normal schedule of a delivery of a child of 9 months. Nobody has altered that. And we remain individually different in every single aspect. So unless and until we begin to use words, and words matter, words like respect instead of tolerance. Let's begin to accept people. We have to accept others as they are. You are who you are. I am the way I am. If we don't accept each other as we are, then we have conflict. That's the important part. There has to be a global change in the words we use to define ourselves. We have to respect individual differences. We have to accept and respect every single individual for the way they are. With these thoughts and with these pious hopes, that somewhere along the line, humans are supposed to have greater wisdom. But if we are exercising the wisdom for the goodness of mankind or womankind, call it any which way you want, but things need to change. We are living in a world, it's very true that we are living in a world where tectonic shifts are happening on account of technology. Everybody is wanting to shake the tree, but will it? With these thoughts, I wish you a very great weekend, a great week ahead, and talk to you next week. Thank you, Rajji, and thank you, Sharadji, for being with me today.